Hello everyone, this is Billy here. Today, unfortunately, Wilson can't join us because he's busy with life, and so now the show is mine. I can do whatever I want. So, remember last week that we talked about Kingsmen, right? Um, Honestly, for me, as you probably heard, it's a bit of a downer for me, right? Because I expect high octane silly action movie, which is what Kingsman 1 and 2 had, but the Kingsman, unfortunately, they toned it down for more of a character building, which granted, I think it has its own merit, but I'm an action movie junkie. Like, I need my high action octane. Fine, alright. Like, for me, right, one of the best action movie of all time, right? It's a great Indonesian action movie. It's gory and all, and it launched many of its actor to international fame, such as Iko Uwais and 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽𝓪. And then now we get to see both of them again in this movie, The Night Comes for Us. Admittedly, yes, this movie is somewhat old. It came out 3 years ago. Well, I'm sorry, 4 years ago. But I just found out about this movie existence just now, and holy crap, I really love it. So, where do we start? Right. So the synopsis of the story, of course, it has to be a gangster movie, which it is, and it starts with 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽𝓪's character. Like, he's a gangster that's in search of redemption to himself after many years of killing, senseless killing. And we have Iko Uwais, who is an uprising gangster who want to get more power and to feed his ambition. And of course, here's the thing, right? It's directed by Timo Tjahjanto, and he also helped to direct Headshot, a movie that came out after The Raid. And to be honest, even though Headshot is good, it kind of feel like it's The Raid knockoff. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, all of the people who made these movies are highly talented, but it does have that kind of sense to it, because where the action itself it's good, it's serviceable, but not as good as The Raid. But The Night Comes for Us, I gotta tell you, it's nothing like Headshot, because it tries to go for its own identity, because it's very gory compared to all other movie that other movies I've seen. And at the very least, right, even though it's gory, it has good martial arts and good action sequence. You know, it's not like watching Deadpool, where you have this superpower human being who just do some random shit, slicing people left and right. No. It has to go up and personal. So yes, what I mean by gory, honestly, it's really hard for me to put it in words. I think more people should watch it. Yeah, so like, for example, right, it's just there's so many creative way to kill people in this movie, and like, you can get killed by cow carcasses, you can get killed by a billiard ball, and many different things. And also the set pieces is awesome. Like, this movie, right, it doesn't mince word, and I feel like The Raid is basically an excuse plot to have police storming into a building full of gangster and then fight their way to survival. And I gotta say, like, the second Raid movie, which is in Indonesian it's also called 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽𝓪. It's another no, like, in terms of action, I think it's much better than the first one, and also it does improve in its storytelling. But this movie, on the other hand, like, everything is just an excuse plot to have the action going, right? It's like, it's this never-ending roller coaster. The plot is just there to put you in this suspension of disbelief, like, just to justify all the fight, because you get this guy, right, 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽𝓪's character, who after many years of killing, he tried to save this little girl that he's supposed to kill by his boss's order, and then he break away from the gang, which is in this case, is the Chinese triad that operates in Indonesia. And then, of course, the triad gets really pissed because he's supposed to be one of their top enforcer, which they call it 6Cs here, but honestly, I don't think it matters. Doesn't matter too much. And then he has to fight his way out of this to survive by stealing, by taking back his own money, get captured, fight. Right, now, with this, and then, so this serviceable plot connects one set pieces to another. For example, the first set piece of fight, right, is in a butcher shop. So I think that is the establishing moment, the amount of goriness that this movie had to offer compared to the other action movie that came out before, right? Not to say there's no other gory action movies, but I gotta say, like, it's very good. So for example, right, so 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽𝓪's character start fighting in this butcher shop surrounded with all the cow carcasses that hang from the hook, and also there's one human dead body, of course, gangster. And you get to see him like utilize his environment and him taking hits. Like, legit, this movie, compared to the other Raid movie, which I should say all characters do take hits personally, and even getting slash in the back, which pretty gnarly. But man, it's like you can really feel everyone struggle for their dear life, and there's many different way that character die. Like, for example, what I said earlier, right? He had to use, because he lost his gun, he had to resort to using a cow bone that's already been cut by a saw, and to stab people, and then defend himself with carcasses. And also, that's the thing though, like, some of the fight, right? This is something that you don't really think much about, but sometimes people use a dead body as a way to defend themselves, which is pretty interesting. I know. Oh man, the more I talk, the more I think that I have a serial killer mind. But nah. I just really need adrenaline. But holy crap, so much blood everywhere, and so stylistic, and the camera work. Mwah! Love the camera work. The camera work is fantastic, and it really amps up the action and all. And then later on, there are two fights that happen, right? For the next set pieces. So one happened in 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽𝓪's apartment. Wait, is it his apartment? I think it's technically his friend's apartment. But yeah, so basically, like, he got 3 of his friends willing to help him to save the girl, while he himself got captured by core police. So he's in the back of a police car. And oh boy, both of them so brutal. I love it. And it's like desperation's everywhere. And his fight in the police car is really interesting, because what you got, right, is this claustrophobic feeling where everything is cramped, yet the camera, you can feel, like, you can get the sense of how cramped it is because of the camera. Even the camera doesn't move that much, but it's all for the better. And there's many interesting way, like they make such an interesting fight scene in such a enclosed space, where they use gun, and like and I think in this movie, like, it's probably the first time I saw someone getting shot using an assault rifle just on full auto, point blank. Pretty gnarly. And there's also blood chunk everywhere. But damn, I really think that again, this is probably not for everyone, but if you like the Raid, you will love this. And then also the apartment scene, right? The apartment fight where all 3 of his friends with varying combat ability, they struggle a lot just to survive, and getting slash, use practically everything just to survive, using table, knife, and also even like, I have no idea why, but apparently in this movie world, right, like, that sign when the floor is wet, right? It's usually made of plastic. No, but no, it's made of metal. So, so a character use it to deflect bullet. You know, like in that Back to the Future movie where they Marty put a boiler plate under his shirt to block bullet. So that's what happened. But oh boy. And then I gotta say, right, I think this is like, this is the kind of movie where you just don't need to think, just enjoy the action. Although I do notice one thing, right? After watching it for a while, because the fact that just because there's the amount of people storming in a room, and there's a lot, right? So you got an entire gangster squad coming in just to fight 3 people, or rather 2, just because the third person was hiding in a room for the most part. I kind of think that the movie kind of lose when it comes to how to put this, like many to one fight. In terms of 1-to-1 fight, which we'll get into later, it's pretty damn good. The truck fight scene, sorry, the police truck fight scene, it's amazing because like there's all 4 against 1 in this claustrophobic space. So I think that's because the scope is much more limited. There's more creativity in it. Although the apartment fight, and then later on there'll be a fight at the dock. It's a bit slow because how to put this, you get to see sometimes some of the mooks, or sorry, the thugs, they don't really do anything. They just stand around while waiting for their mates getting beaten up. But still pretty good. And then and the mooks die quite easily, but not really at the same time. But yeah, you still have to mow them down after all. Right, so man, I've just been gushing on about all the fights, huh? For the last 10 minutes or so. And then what else? Right, and the fights themselves, right, use their environment to its full potential, right? So yeah, like using table and also to block things, and then also like again using that body. And I don't know why, right? Sometimes the action itself can be quite silly. Although I suppose it does promote on the emotional narrative more rather than how much will make sense. Because there's a scene later on where one of Joe Taslim's friend, Joe Taslim's character's friend, right? He just drive along on his car, knowing that he's going to get gunned down by this group of riflemen, but he just doesn't give a shit, and he just play an old Indonesian song, and taking his last cigarette smoke, and just start shooting with his gun. Of course, he died in the process, but it kind of remind me to the old heroic bloodshed genre from Hong Kong, this movie, which, you know, like hard-boiled and etc. It's pretty cool. Like you get to see so much blood, but at the same time, like more of a emotional narrative that push the fight more than like, you know, cold calculating logic. Because for example, like, right, John Wick, I should say that the movie itself do have an emotional investment in it, because of course Doc died, and then the fact that he want to live, yes, but during the fight itself, mostly it doesn't really put much emotion, because of course, like, that's what a professional assassin would do. But that's the thing though, it's like it's not as bombastic or not as like melancholic to a degree. But yeah, this movie is like, it has this betrayal and sense of like brotherhood. So I won't be surprised if it's gained inspiration from Hong Kong these movies. Like when I say Hong Kong this movie, I refer to the old action movies. I haven't watched any new one, so maybe that should be a future episode consideration. Yes, and like that's the thing, and also in most of the fight, right, there are a lot of like sometimes there are stories that's happening within it, which like it's not the first time. Like our fighter gets tired and all, but sometimes like you don't. There are still things happening within the story, just to acknowledge that the fighters themselves are tired, and also just to give us the audience a room to breathe, just to process what's happening. And pretty crazy. Right, and then like all the actors are pretty great. So you got people like let's see, so you got people like 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽𝓪, Iko Uwais, like of course the stars from the raid. But then you also have let's see, you got like people like Abisama Ariasanta and 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽𝓪 and Julie Estelle, and just a lot of talents really. I've seen Julie Estelle in Headshot, and I think she kicks ass, but now here she kicks ass even more. And it's pretty interesting how like in Indonesian movie sphere, right? They're using the same actors for all the action scenes, probably because in terms of overall action movie, right? I suppose it's not mature yet to that degree. But then again, to be fair, it is made by the same director, so I understand why he would pick people over and over. And they're all freaking talented after all. Like, I think they did their own stunt. It's pretty, pretty crazy if you think about it when it comes when you compare it to Hollywood, because like stunt doubles are everywhere. Actors no longer do their own stunt, and sure there is commercial reason why that happens, right? I can understand that because actors in Hollywood, generally speaking, are very highly paid, and if they get injured, that means everything in the movie have to be delayed. They have to delay production. They have to wait for the actors to recover. So it's much easier to have a stunt double replacing them. But I suppose there is merit as well of having the actors themselves becoming the stunt double. Like looking at so for example, like we have in Hollywood such as Tom Cruise, and also Keanu Reeves recently with all his John Wick series, because like you get to see them in more interesting shots, because you don't need to worry about covering their face. Like you don't need to worry about, oh okay, it's not the same actor, so more of their shot is very close up, and you can feel the brutality, and it's just pure chaos really. And speaking of using the actors themselves, right, doing their own stunt, and you can get to see close-up footage. Let's bring up the final fight, which is between Iko Uwais and 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽𝓪. Like, remember, these two are gigantic movie star right now. Like they, I think Iko Uwais was in Star Wars and some other Hollywood movie, while 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽𝓪 himself is in Fast and Furious. And finally, right, finally we get to see both of them face off against each other, because even though they're in the raid, they never fight against one another because both of them are in the police force. But it's like watching Jackie Chan fighting against Bruce Lee. I think it's like what movie? No, not Bruce Lee. I'm sorry, Jet Li, right? Jackie Chan versus Jet Li. I think it's in this movie called is it the Forbidden Kingdom, right? The one about Sun Wukong and shit like that. Yeah, so it's like there's this giant hype, and the fight. I have to tell you, right? Oh boy, like I thought watching the final fight in the second raid movie, it's already brutal enough as it is because blood flying around. But oh boy, they really upped the ante, because who ever thought that you can you can feel pain as an audience by like certain move, because in like enough about people getting stabbed, enough about people getting slashed. We've watched those too many times already, so need something interesting, right? Interesting move, like, and watching it, right, makes me squirm so much, just because they did a lot of interesting things. For example, like how to put this, um you can really see that they're selling the punch very well. And then there's this one particular scene where I really like, because how much it makes me feel pain through the screen. So like Iko Uwai's character got pinned against a steel beam, and 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽𝓪's character about to punch him, right? But then he missed, so his punch lands straight onto the steel beam, just dark hat on, and you can hear the steel beam ringing, and like you can really sense the pain, right? No, this was like, that must be painful. But then moments later, the situation got reversed, and Iko Uwai's character tried to kick 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪𝓽's head, right? But then he missed, and he hit his dry bone on the steel beam. Like, oh, dude, that hurts. Like, here's the thing: like, as someone who has fallen down a few times before and hit my dry bones on my leg, and also accidentally kick pieces of furniture, like, I'm sure it's not just me, right? I'm sure a lot of you can just sense the pain. Like, I immediately just pause and just hold my leg, because I can feel it's like it's different from, like, it's similar as if you were seeing characters getting their testicles kicked. But oh boy. And also the final section of the final fight, where 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪's character gets stabbed through the mouth, and then he had to snap the blade using his teeth, while the blade itself is still lodged from inside out. Oof, gnarly. But man, oh man, like, how I really never thought such movie exists. And honestly, right, if I have the chance, which actually I am doing it right now, I would say that for everyone who have watched the raid, you should watch this, because I mean, like, yeah, in terms of rating, I think it should be similar anyway. The raid's pretty gnarly as it is, but not as gnarly here. I have to say, right, something about the choreography is a bit slower, but I don't mind about that, because they compensated with more gore. And I have to say, it's quite interesting to see Iko Uwai's pencak silat style versus 𝓟𝓸𝓽𝓪 judo, which honestly I was surprised. But yeah, it's quite interesting. Right. Sorry, I've just been gushing about the actions. I need more action, and yeah, we need to bring up more of those action movie in the future. But I think it's maybe it's a bit hard in a podcast format. Maybe it'll be better if I can get someone who knows martial art, right, to also discuss this. The story themselves, right? It's actually pretty yeah, like I said earlier, it's generic. It's an excuse plot, but it does have this sense of story that can be expanded, right? Because you have this organization called the 6C, the Thrides and Four. But so far, right? So far, we only see like what, 2 of them, and then Julia Estelle's character supposed to assassinate all 6. So it's quite interesting to see it expanded on. But let's be real though, is watching it getting expanded on is like watching John Wick all over again, because you have this a world of assassin, right, with their own social norm, their own currency system, and etc. It's like such a good fanfiction launching point. Well, this one maybe it's not to that point, but still pretty interesting. And I really would like to see more of this kind of movie being made. Kudos for Timothy Janto, and then also all the actors here. And honestly, right, I really hope with movies like this, it helps to inspire aspiring movie maker to make great action scenes. because long are gone the day of old of 80s Hong Kong action 80s Hong Kongese action movie where it's like high pace, full of martial arts, and now today we embrace that there's more and more of this kind of martial art movie that's high pace, not as crazy edited as what Hollywood have been doing, and looking forward to it. All right, I guess that's it for today. It's a bit of a short one, but then I suppose there's not much to talk about when it comes to action movie. I just want to use this podcast as an excuse to promote the beauty, the beautiful carnage and violence of this movie, and of course, not endorsing real violence, but hey, we all want a bit of adrenaline. Alright, anyway, I guess that's it. Have a good start to your day. Bye bye.